Substack.
Yeah.
All right.
Stream is live. Good evening, gents.
Okay, welcome to Team Futurism, everybody. Here today, I'm with Devin Carson and Dain Fitzgerald. Dain has been on the show before. I've also been on his podcast a couple
Friend
of times.
of the pod.
Genuine friend of the
Friend
pod.
of the pod.
Actual friend of the pod.
First non-ironic utterance of that phrase on this podcast.
So I had Dain on today to talk about a couple of the articles that he's written. We don't necessarily have to dive right into them, but I kind of first want to talk about the Trump thing, how we met with Mom Donnie. I want to get your guys' takes on that because, like, okay, there are all these clips of Mom Donnie hanging out with Trump in the Oval Office, and Mom Donnie is just like standing there, and Trump is like looking up at him, like he's like in love with him. And there are all these like captions, like "Find a girl who looks at you like Trump looks at Mom Donnie." And
I hadn't seen those.
Yes, I mean, I guess they're getting along swimmingly, right? I mean, so far.
Well, he's such a famous little charmer, isn't he? And honestly, can I just say this though? I just saw this picture before we hopped on for the first time. And the thing that really jumped out to me, I zoomed in. He's got low-key dementia face in that picture. And I feel like that's been pretty big in the news just the last like week or so. You know how how the dementia cauldron gets stirred up. But legitimately, I kind of peeled in and I'm like, oh, is that adoration or is that confusion?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm like touch and go on that topic a little bit.
I mean, Trump said something to him like a reporter asked Mom Donnie if Mom Donnie still thought Trump was a fascist or something, and then Mom Donnie starts to give something that sounds a little boilerplate, and then Trump intervenes and says, "You can just tell them yes, it'll be quicker." So he's laid back about it,
Yeah, he's tenured in, dude. He's fully acting like a senile tenured professor. He's like, just cut the pleasantries, dude.
He's anything but a tenured professor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
he's maybe at like a Universal Technical Institute or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if those are called. They're probably called instructors or something like that.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Grizzled old mechanic school employee.
So I'm most interested in this clip where Trump says that he thinks that conservatives will be a little bit surprised by Mom Donnie. And this is like something as a possibility for the future of this country that no one's ever discussed, which is like, what if the extremes just start getting along in not a horseshoe theory sort of way, but in a way of kind of like, oh, maybe we do have things in common and we don't hate each other and we don't want to have a civil war. And what if this happens at the top? Because Marjorie Taylor Greene's doing weird stuff. There's like a weird shakeup happening right now. Yeah. I feel like in the echelons of politics. And this is another one. And this is maybe the weirdest one of Trump being like, totally chill with Mom Donnie. Like a minute ago, he said he was gonna like invade New York if Mom Donnie wins, and now they're like pals. So who knows? This is like maybe the grand shakeup that America needs, or something like that. When the MAGA crowd and the Mom Donnie crowd actually unironically, like non-horseshoe theory way, get along or something.
Yeah, it's a more transactional kind of horseshoe, which kind of takes away the heft of the whole horseshoe theory, if you ask me, because it implies same like issue overlap, but
there were people who were doing compilation videos of like similarities in style between Mom Donnie and Trump, which I mean, because like they both are populists and they both appeal to people's emotions in a very similar way of like, we're going to help out the working class.
Yeah.
At some core level, they probably do have some perspectives in common or something, right? I mean, for both of them, it's probably all rhetoric. Like, I don't take either of them too seriously, but like, there's something there.
It would be interesting to bring up, look at old footage of Trump when he was 35, and just see what his style was like.
Ooh.
By the time I'm 79, he won't.
Luckily, Luckily, the Epstein files are all about to drop, so you'll see tons of Trump when he's 35 with his other arm around Jeffrey Epstein.
I'm actually so curious about that. If we're gonna get any images, like real images, there's so much AI slop about this, but like real, are there gonna be images that come out?
Oh, I do have a take.
Why haven't we seen more? Sorry, go ahead, David.
Oh, I do have a take though on the Trump Mamdani meeting. By the way, just quickly, because it's a hobby horse that I love to ride around on this show, which is that I think that what we saw was two silos meeting each other. And I'm always talking about how siloed, Republican news media is, and Democratic news media, and Libertarian news media, and every special interest group in between has their own kind of personal silo of media. And I think that if there was any possibility to squeeze a couple drops of vitriol out of this meeting, it would have been done. But the fact is that Trump is actually kind of charming in person, and that's a narrative that you don't get exposed to on the left. And Mamdani just is a charming and kind of eminently reasonable person that's standing on stuff that Trump has just recently realized he'd like to stand on as well. And so it's like, well, yeah, like there is, it's like, it's so shocking to all of us when there's this moment of diplomacy. And I think like part of the core of my argument is that like those small moments of diplomacy are happening all the time, just like they always did. But we live in these insanely siloed news streams where you just don't get exposed to that. But you couldn't do that this time, right? Because Mamdani and Trump both have such heavy coverage on them right now. Like we saw the silos like intersect, and then and the actual kind of diplomacy of regular ass politics happening. And like, I think people were like, whoa, a calm in the storm. Like, nah, I think that's probably pretty much what it's like most of the time behind closed doors.
Devin, I will say though, I would be 0% shocked if like tomorrow Trump sends in the troops into New York City, or you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be surprised.
That could happen too.
Yeah. Capricious, the man.
I wonder actually how bad it is for both of them that vis-a-vis their supporters that they like, especially Mamdani, because I think Trump's fans are more malleable. They're not. They don't have as much of an ideology to police people with. I wonder if Mamdani would lose support by not having an antagonistic enough relationship with Trump.
I hope not. I mean, I think probably that's a good temp check on like the far left of the Democratic Party and the kind of larger party in general. But I'm like, unfortunately, it probably just comes down to how well he messages it, because you can always spin a moment like that as good old fashioned fucking Democratic diplomacy, but you got to make it, but somebody's got to spend, 10 grand doing that.
Guys, I'm gonna pivot to our first topic here, and here's my pivot. So one definite difference between Trump and Mamdani is that Trump and his movement are very pro AI slop, and they use it, I think you could say, very effectively at some level. Whereas Mamdani's campaign didn't. It was very like organic, like on the street, real life videos. And Mamdani's opponent, Cuomo, leaned into the AI slop, where he was creating like 3-minute video clips, like going after Mamdani. And they were like actually pretty entertaining. I actually kind of enjoyed. I don't know if you guys caught them.
I like AI slop.
I kind of do too at some level. Yeah,
I'm a big fan. I put a lot of it up.
Dave, let me pull up this article.
Not really appropriate, but I put a lot of it on Substack.
Hell yeah.
So you recently had this article, Dane, if I can pull this up. Where...
Dane, let me just give you the flowers on the podcast. I read both of your articles that you wrote recently and listened to the pod that you and Peter did. Fantastic, man. I thought your writing was really solid. It was easy read.
Yeah, the Washington Examiner articles are paywalled. I'm happy to say that they're in the print magazine, but I've never actually held a copy. I don't get a subscription, and you can't buy them individually, apparently. Or
that's for the Washington Examiner, right?
Like that magazine Palladium. You can't buy individual issues, but you can become a donor or something and then just get them. But yeah, I found one that was syndicated by the Denver Gazette. So there you go. That's about Trump's love of AI, which I think really became evident with the construction of that detention center in Florida. And you saw a bunch of alligators wearing ice caps and stuff like that. So it's kind of odd the way that they've really latched onto it. But I kind of explain why it's not so much that they, I think the conservatives, Republicans love AI art sort of inherently. It's just that it's something that's available to them in a way more established art channels are not. And it's not like that was inherently not available to them. It's just, historical contingencies mean that there aren't a lot of conservatives going to the Academy of Art Design or multimedia colleges or anything like that. And so this is something that they can just leap right into.
Yeah, that's a really smart breakdown. That was kind of, yeah, but like I think I started thinking that as I was reading the article, and then to hear you wind it out fully, I was like, oh yeah, that does make a lot of sense, because obviously on the left you've got a huge contingency of artists that are, screaming and pleading like, please stop making programs that are taking the last shred of meaning we have left. And like, Republicans aren't burdened by those poor the poor artist class.
I have a question about this. So so let's say there's this divide between Republicans and Democrats on their willingness to engage in AI slop. For me, a lot of art conversations always come down to taste. And I wonder if there's this is going to be like a little bit of a judgy take, so I apologize, Republicans. But like, I wonder if just in general, with a lack of like formal art education training and maybe a lack of, being engaged in like traditional, like, lefty hippie culture or whatever, this like traditional artsy culture, what if Republicans just have bad taste and that's what draws them to a lot of slop? Because like slop is just it to me is kind of like tasteless. Even the best of it's kind of tasteless and kind of tacky, kind of pulpy, and which is fine. Like, again, I kind of like it, but I also kind of like tacky things sometimes. I don't know. Like, Dain, is that resonate at all with your take?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true. I remember when I was reading a lot of journals, like quarterly journals, back in the 2000s and stuff, that the conservative think tanks and libertarian think tanks, their cover art was not that good. If you put it up against like Verso, which Verso does books and stuff, it's not journals, but semiotext. The left always had more interesting art to go with their words, and conservatives not so much. There's a journal called the Independent Review, put out by the Independent Institute in Oakland, where I interned for a little bit, and they just had really kind of boring, straightforward looking, journal covers.
It's got to be also
like a photo of a bay of hail or something, or a bay of hail. Excuse me, bale of hay. Anyway, it'll just be like that.
Or just some like boilerplate, like blue background with like white, like vector image on it, or something super low.
Just some Shutterstock image of like a doctor holding a stethoscope to have an article about Medicare or whatever.
But I wonder, it's like it's if there's what's the Republican equivalent of like the shit lib? You know what I mean? Like the meme, like the sassy meme posting lib, because I feel like there's this thing that's happened in the Republican Party that's become weaponized in this almost like psychological, intentionally psychological way of the kind of like culture, of just like, well, because I want them to fucking cry, because they don't know how to fucking load a rifle, and like, I feel like a lot of that the art that you're talking about is the personification almost of like that attitude of just being like, like, I don't really need a reason because I don't fucking like them, dude, because and take an alligator with an ice cap while you're at it.
Yeah, like it's just like, fireman calendar, but they're all holding bazookas. It's like it's just kind of like a straightforward tacky badassery.
It's red meat, man.
That's a specific form of art. Like I said, it goes way back to just this leaning on very generic images, and
I wonder too if there's something to the idea that like Trump, I don't know if you guys remember first Trump presidency, all of like the early AI art that was all him like as like Jesus riding a fucking like a chariot, and I'm like, I wonder if a part of the I mean, like, to make this conversation fully circular, part of the reason for a lot of this AI art is because there's no artist on earth that would fucking draw that.
Yeah. That wasn't the first Trump term didn't have AI art.
It didn't. No.
Well, I mean,
or did it? I might be misremembering.
Right. It was just
there were some Photoshop things happening.
We could have gotten that in the Biden years, to be fair, because they were.
That's when it was starting to creep in. Yeah, I remember some of the AI art, like the Pope wearing a big puffy white jacket, Gucci or something like that. And there was images of Trump being arrested. You know, that was very popular.
So this is going to be a thing where we just stop realizing what is AI art versus what is real. Just today, before I hopped on this call, I saw a picture of that I guess is floating around on Reddit or something like this. A picture of like Bill Clinton and Trump like climbing onto his lap, and like it looks real. It just looks like a real image, at least on at a glance. And like, I don't know, like that sort of a like realism wasn't possible just in a matter of months ago, right? So right now, when we think about AI, it was just an image. It was just an image. I know that like even videos are getting like very realistic right now, even in this moment too, with the new Google updates. But I kind of even wonder, even right now, what is creeping into our timelines that is AI slop technically, but we don't even realize it. I think that it already is kind of happening.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of like AI videos of pretty realistic stuff. I mean, like you could tell it's AI, but it's like a facsimile of something that could easily happen. Just like a couple.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking
a couple of cute dogs being carried by a lady and placed on a plate.
Yeah, dogs. Yeah, man. I'm like scrolling through my Instagram feed and I'm thinking, boy, is this really hot dog real? This dog is way too hot to be real.
Yeah. If AI slop stuck to just something like that, I don't think it would be particularly destructive.
No.
People could still tell. There's always like, maybe like 1 in 4 commenters will point it out, and hopefully the other 3 you'll see it.
Oh, for about 10 more minutes.
For the record, my own slop is like so blatantly fake that it's not going to be, it will never be called a deep fake, because the term deep fake has a connotation of,
This is the thing that worries me in my own personal life as I go about the world, is like when I encounter something that's AI, and then like I take that in or whatever, but I'm thinking it's real, and then I come back later, and like an hour later I scroll through it and I see it on my feed and it's like now marked as fake. I still remember it as like a real thing, and I'm still like, my impression is still influenced by that, even if it were fake. And I talk about this all the time about how like stories are more real than real life, and like a meme is a story, AI slop as a meme is a story, and like we change our views about politicians, about cultural issues, about world events based upon these little like just tidbits of information. Even if we learn after the fact that they're fake, you still feel like their influence on your opinion, which to me is fascinating. Yeah. And like, this is why those Russian bot farms and everything like worry me so much, because it's kind of like, even if I'm like, oh, and this is actually a topic I want to pivot to, is like the new update with Twitter. So Twitter has this update where Devin, I know you're not a creature of Twitter or X, but when you log on, you will notice that when you click on a profile of a person, you can now see where they're from, where their IP address is from, and where they log in from.
Where they are?
Yeah, where they are. Let me maybe even pull up an example of this. Okay, so
and that's hold on, guys.
Would they still ask you for your location when you sign on or when you join up? Why even do that? I wonder if they're just gonna locate your IP and give you an address.
So you can opt out of it. You can opt out so that this doesn't show up. So here's Captain Dreamer, a captive dreamer who's a big account and like does nefarious things online.
In Bangladesh,
Papua New Guinea.
And guys, we're gonna go ahead and cut to our sponsor, ExpressVPN. Hey, it's only $12.99 a month. ExpressVPN.
Right,
go ahead and sponsor us, because this is you guys need that now.
Isn't that Ben Shapiro's main sponsor?
I think I feel like I've heard.
I forget, but there's like someone out there is all about ExpressVPN.
I mean, I'm broadcasting live from the Czech Republic right now via Emeryville, California.
Okay, so let's read through this.
Yeah, I'll sooner be using VPNs from all places around the world, Australia, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic rather, before I'll ever be able to fucking fly out there.
Okay, so let me read this just so we get the details of it right. The feature, which is announced on November 16th, displays account location derived from signals like IP addresses, app store regions, and posting behavior. And I think that even if you use a VPN at some level, it's still okay. I've actually already seen examples of this, and so people get caught with this. So there was a Russian account that said Russian, and people screenshotted this, and then she used a VPN to show it as an American, and people like immediately were like, "No, you're not," and they like screenshotted it. So I feel like for the big prominent accounts, as this rolls out, before people get the workarounds worked out exactly, people are like being caught about this. But also, if you opt out of it, I think that you become I think that your account can't have followers or something like this. Like there are ways to opt out of it, but there's a penalty that you get from it.
So that's a huge penalty.
I could have that slightly wrong, but
it's interesting to kind of that people are going to be upset about this and be like, well, you can't dox men, but I'm like, man, wait until they start popping the hood a little more, because they're just popping the hood just enough for you to get a little flashlight in there and see a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm like, man, they've built a fully 4-dimensional model of you. they don't just know where you live, they know how long your piss stream takes. I mean, dude. But that's interesting, you bring up a good point, because I'm thinking through it and it's like, well, Elon's not a fucking idiot. I mean, maybe in certain domains, but this seems like such a big kind of wide sweeping move. What is the possible motive? But I think you nailed it with the anecdote, which is it's got to be some kind of attempt to make sure that you're not trying to sway our election from Russia. or a farm in, a hacking farm somewhere else in the world.
Yeah, what is really fascinating about this is that every single cultural commentator always comes back around to like, why is society having so many problems right now? Why is there so much division? And it all comes down to online, like the world of online, and how everyone's yelling at each other, and you can't get along with people, even your neighbors online. And when you drill into that, dead internet theory, 90% of like any accounts on whether it's Twitter or anywhere else, they're all fake. So like this could actually like start to turn us in a direction where we could free ourselves from certain civil war type situations.
Yeah, it kind of related. I saw the new Running Man the other day. I really liked it. And in that movie, they're still kind of clinging to this idea that, the masses are united against the, corporate overlord, state, corporate, evil class, rather than, bothered by their fellow Americans, I mean, I don't know if it's, I can't remember if they called it America, but, in the movie, I think so. But just like they did in the original. So they don't, I think people are slowly discovering that they have more animus aimed at, other Americans. The ire is going horizontal, not so much vertical, as you see in like everything 1984 to a lot of just old school populist accounts of uprisings and who has the food in your neck,
There is like a legitimate case for the 5 minutes hate being like Twitter, or whatever other kind of like ritual social sacrifice is being made of the moment. Like you do feel the top-down pressure to draw divisive lines between you and whoever you're trying to talk to, even if they're on your own side, because it's like it's a there's a money narrative. There's pressure, there's just financialization of everything, including your opinion. So the stronger your opinion is, the easier it is to monetize, I think. And yeah, man, it does seem like that. It does seem,
on Twitter directly pays people for more engagement. So however you get that is legit.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the second worst thing about Twitter. One is the bots, but two is people who you can just tell with every post. A lot of accounts that I used to really like, you see them just trying to make money off this platform by just saying things that just get people upset, or even like innocuous things. They'll state it in a way as if like someone else is an idiot to have not believed it in the first place. That's and I hate it, the fact that like I do like engage with that content more because I like intentionally don't want to, but I just do. I mean, look at this post that I have pulled up here. Like, breaking: millions of MAGA accounts are currently being exposed. It's like, that's one take on this phenomenon. Like, there are like 5 different ways to frame this. This is just the most partisan way to frame it. So even this is gross. You know what I mean?
There are less culture war oriented and antagonistic ways of doing that too, like pretending you don't know what you know, or you kind of troll people to engage you and correct something that you should know and you're pretending not to. I don't know, like Mamdani was elected mayor of Boston or something like that. Like, you're going to get engagement because everyone's going to want to correct you or call you out for being an idiot.
Totally. Oh yeah, I see that too.
And I think it really kind of, like, to dig down into the last point, is that the narrative is always that there's like, it's always the cabal narrative, right? It's always like, oh, these powerful men are getting together, or Mark Zuckerberg is doing. I'm like, I think it's actually a little bit more banal and nefarious than that, where it's probably just market forces. Like, it literally probably is just like powerful market forces that are driving the division. And we actually, part of, God, I'm not going to get on a diatribe about this, but part of the sage wisdom of the Republican Party is that they're like, well, we need to have a society with values. And the problem is that everybody's going, well, those ain't the values anymore, guys. But the whole point of having a society with values is that it gives you guardrails in situations like this, where you've got, like, really kind of infinitely powerful market forces drawing divisive lines between people that have no business being divided. They're so much more. They're in the same political party, right? And it's like, I do sometimes, I'm a techno optimist, but there is going to have to be some kind of like John Travolta phenomenon moment societally where people kind of like go, wait, hold on. Do we want market forces controlling our moral reality? Do we really want market forces controlling our social reality? Do we really want John Travolta controlling our social reality? John Travolta in Phenomena. Remember when in the 90s, the movie, he's like walking in the middle of the street, and then like a white light hits him, and
is that the one where he's an angel? He becomes an angel, or is that something else?
Is that Michael? Isn't that called Michael?
No, wait. No. Phenomena, he gets like some kind of power. He gets some kind of power. I don't remember. Anyways, well, lost reference. Yeah, we'll chalk that up up to Simpsons video store guy.
The power to have his career rehabilitated by Tarantino. After Look Who's Talking 3.
Pete, what else do you have anything else? I mean, I could push into a couple things. You got more stuff lined up for us today? You always do.
I wanted to talk about Dain's other article.
Yeah,
we could save that till later though. Did you have a topic you wanted?
The data center one?
AI data center.
Yeah,
I'm in. That's my.
I want to talk about it a little bit, Dain. I think
that's my topic.
Yeah.
Oh, this is your topic. Okay.
This was my topic.
Let me tee it up just a little bit. So this article, Washington Examiner by Dain Fitzgerald on the show. It was paywalled, but Dain has this
friend
tag
of the pod
on his Twitter feed. So you can find the PDF there.
I wish I'd sent me the magazine, but
I know.
Come on,
Washington Examiner. Come on.
One commemorative edition. Come on.
We got AI data centers spur anger across the political spectrum. So, like, it's interesting because these AI data centers are going in across the country, like Amazon's and Microsoft, like everybody's opening up like all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're bringing up a lot of like environmental issues. Like you see all these articles about like, kind of breaking down the potential like problems with this and et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, they're like literally fueling our entire economy and making sure that we don't go into a recession, just like these things single-handedly. But yeah, the interesting thing about this article is that you bring up how there is a potential political divide. And I think if anybody were to just take a wild swing and a guess, which party would be more favorable to AI data centers, I mean, it could go either way. But like, I think that you make the argument that Republicans tend to be more favorable to them. And this almost cuts against a lot of the abundance energy that the left is trying to manifest, but then they're like just not following through with it in this very like basic thing of like data centers for, I think, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but probably it's like environmental reasons and water and energy.
There's a book called Empire. Sorry to cut you off. The left is not really into data centers. There's a book called Empire of AI. The author has been making the rounds on Democracy Now, and she comes at this from a kind of environmental perspective fairly significantly. But the liberals like Klein and Thompson, they're into data centers, not specifically, but I assume. I don't think I've heard them talk about that per se, but I think among party elites, political operatives, Republicans are more into it, but on the ground, there's not a lot of difference. They're both kind of down on data centers, both Republicans and Democrats, mainly for specter of rising electricity bills, not really the environment. There's not too much evidence though, basically because the data center thing is a little too new to see a lot of its effect on states, but there's some idea that that's going to raise electricity rates, but
I know that there was this one town,
major hub, they haven't actually seen an increase. It actually went down a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
But I think there's been some other regions where there wasn't the case. But anyway,
in this article, you bring up the new Virginia governor, and she was very much opposed to new data centers in Virginia. What was her argument?
The electricity bills mainly.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, the more local the race, the more it's kind of brass tacks and not environment. Right. Unless it's Berkeley, where like I don't know, I think they have the same sort of talking points as the most national kind of talking points, right? But the Republicans, the Republican opponent in that was apparently pretty subpar in a bunch of other ways, unrelated to data centers.
Shocker.
Yeah, but she was nominally more receptive to it, encouraging it to be.
It's so. I mean, I kind of did a dive on this today because the AI bubble is something that personally concerns me, just financially, recession-wise, and a lot of it is being driven by data centers, chips, and the financialization of data centers and the way that a lot of the kind of financial consumables that go into a data center, the lease, the land, the speculative energy consumption, a lot of that stuff can be financialized, packaged as financial products in exactly the same way that subprime mortgages were financialized in 2008, which led us into that recession. And so what's really interesting to me is that we have this kind of artificial valuation system that's happening around these data centers where you've got chip manufacturers, you've got AI companies, and then you've got data centers and contractors, and they're all kind of engaging in these zero-sum deals where there's vendor financing that's going one or both ways. I trade you stock, but then I buy your product. But then,
I get like the kind of interlocking circulatory nature of the deals. I've heard about that.
And then what that does is it kind of puts us in this place where, we've got this opacity for actual valuation. And if it was a smaller chunk of the market, it might be less it might be less terrifying to have that. But I think right now we're at 80% of growth in the U.S. economy over the last like 6 to 12 months is AI and data centers. And so we've got this little circular economy that's working really well for us, and boosting the stock market wonderfully. And we're just kind of dancing on the tip of it. And then, to say that everybody hates data centers, right? So as soon as they go in, they're loud as fuck. Like that's the first thing. I mean, they're generators.
There's a particularly burdensome one in Memphis. It belongs to Musk, I believe.
Interesting.
Things about that.
Well, I just can I jump in, Devin? I want to say a couple of things about this. I think that they're like I like to play out like best case and worst case scenarios for the data center.
Me too. I got to steal man for this one too. Yeah.
There's obviously a bunch of harms, and we're in a total paradigm shift right now. Some stuff is just going to fail. The economy probably is going to go like this a couple of times. Always does when paradigm shifts happen. So we can totally get bogged down in the details, which is actually an important thing to do. But let me just say this in terms of like being my tech optimist self for like half a second. Let's say absolutely all the worst case scenarios happen. Let's say there's like environmental catastrophes that impact like multiple states, multiple countries, and is bad for years. And like we have brownouts and blackouts for power, like every worst case scenario you can think about. And then like the whole entire economy tanks, whatever the worst case scenario is. But this shit helps us like cure cancer 5 years earlier, 10 years earlier than whatever. Or maybe we would have never cured cancer without this shit, or like something like that. This is something that like Jeff Bezos has talked about a little bit about, like, we are absolutely going to learn things from AI. We're going to get things from AI that we as a human species would have not gotten if we didn't develop this technology. What if one of those things is curing cancer, or like, the longevity research starts to pay off because of this technology? That sort of thing. Like, what are you willing to pay?
That's pretty speculative as far as AI contributing to like drug discovery or cancer. Like, for instance, Ozempic. I have a hard time thinking AI or data centers had much to do with Ozempic, but that's a real But they're
it's interesting. I've already seen multiple headlines about how AI. I follow like David Sinclair on Twitter, right? Like the Harvard researcher. He's like releasing a bunch of info about how AI has helped them develop new technologies that they had no idea were on the horizon, and they're now here, like already. And AI should not be doing that yet, and it already is. Like everyone's like LLMs can't do that, but like it already is. And I think the LLMs, they're gonna maybe be here for a couple more years. I think we're gonna leapfrog past LLMs. I don't think that they're the future.
Peter, if I was a betting man,
that's what the guy who just recently left Anthropic thinks. What's his name? Jan LeCun or something?
That's why I'm kind of thinking this is the case, because people like him, who are like the actual industry leaders who aren't fully invested in LLMs, they're already kind of thinking past them. So I'm like, okay, they probably know something.
Well, I guess, bring me around to my little steel man, because obviously I watched, Jensen Huang and Elon Musk did a little press conference in old Saudi Arabia. I think it was about a week, something. It was this week. And Jensen kind of lays out this 3-minute case for why there is so much demand for GPU right now, which is, and just very quickly, his kind of stated claim is that demand is 12-1. And the reason for that is not only is like agentic AI and all of the kind of systems that are component to that GPU dependent, but most of our data systems now are not CPU oriented. So like all of the data frames that kind of your transactions and interactions in the digital world rest on, those are all GPU based. Modern marketing algorithms are all GPU based. And so like the necessity for GPU based computing is accelerating, not only because of AI, but because most of our kind of like common use systems are using GPUs instead of CPUs, because we have a kind of more 4-dimensional way of dealing with people now.
I admit, I don't know. I don't really know the difference between CP and GPU is graphical processor or the computer. And I know that GPU has been more has driven video games historically.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's the like a CPU is like playing Snake, and you can play 1,000 games of Snake all at once, but it's still games of Snake. And a GPU is holding a frame. It's holding a set of data, kind of as a. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's less
one
kind of point to
flat,
point.
The other one's multidimensional. One is playing Snake and the other is Fortnite.
I am actually a total dumbass. So I don't know.
You had me going for a minute, man.
I know. I almost wanted to push it to where I could like clip myself sounding really smart about it, but I'm not gonna do that.
Okay, well, here's one thing that
between GPU and CPU would have been.
Here's one thing that I think is fascinating, and this actually is probably related to what you're talking about, Devin. I just learned recently that apparently, like, these data centers, all the chips that they're buying, the shelf life for these things is 1 to 3 years. Partly because they become out of date, and newer ones replace them, but also they have such a burden of like the energy flow going through them that they just like burn out after 3. I think that burnout rate is like 3 to 5 years, that sort of thing. So all of the billions of dollars that are being spent right now
will get
on these data centers, just every 3 years you got to respend that same money just to like reach the status quo again.
My layperson explanation for why they only last that long is because they're so small. They're like a little trinket. I can't hold on to that small. I lose it all the time.
It just burns right up. It's so damn small.
Of course they're going to lose that thing. I mean, you can put it in the jewelry box, but it always disappears.
I guess that like one of the biggest new plants that's going up right now, I think in Texas, is actually Texas Instruments. They're building out a huge factory, and they're making like massive chips, like mega huge chips, because like not everything is AI. Like these go into Teslas, they go into your toaster.
Everything's bigger in Texas, bitch.
There's still a massive demand and a lot of money being made on like the low end chips as well. And it's kind of interesting that we think about how a lot of these exist in like China and other countries, but I guess the US is also kind of leaning into this technology, the old school chips in America too, because there is a ton of money to be made, because like every single shitty device now has some sort of a chip in it now.
We ain't getting them from Taiwan for much longer, I'll tell you that much, man.
You think that they're gonna be invaded?
Yeah, dude. I mean, they're all.
That's what they say.
They're
on a long enough timeline. I mean, sure, but I wouldn't think that's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Everyone says 2027 because supposedly Xi Jinping has like said 2027 is like their pivotal year or whatever. I mean, who knows? Like, but it's interesting who would just say that.
What?
They're like the invasion.
Yeah, they're playing little war games this week.
Yeah,
they love driving their little civilian navy down there and testing some stuff out, seeing how things
could be a head fake, though. It could be a massive head fake
as well. Out in the ocean,
True.
They get into it with Philippines. Yeah, but I know that the U.S. has been trying to get more of TSMC's operations stateside, right?
Yes.
They have that big plant in Arizona, Phoenix area, I think.
Well, it's a national security issue at this point, right? Because
now we are
the
story of the culture clash there with the guys who were from Taiwan and putting up like, I don't know, centerfold pictures and by desks and stuff like it's 80s America.
Fuck yeah.
I think the other people complaining were American men of the modern day. Not cool, man. You take that down.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm gonna tell you what my kind of final thought is, and I want to hear your guys' kind of final thoughts. I want to hear a Nostradamus prediction about what the AI bubble does to us over the next 5 years. I think it's gonna. You know what? I am a real.
No, I mean, I'm not so sure.
I'm a little saber rattler just because I like a good bit, but I actually think it's going to work out. I think that it's more likely that robots are going to be jerking us off before they solve cancer, personally. But I also think that I also think that the amount of compute that I squeeze out of my little GPT, there's people that are just so much fucking smarter than me. And like, I think it'll probably solve the problems before we get to the kind of collapse point of a lot of the issues that we're looking at right now. Energy independence, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it like we can't be that far from the compute for figuring out some of these kind of simple, complex problems, right?
Dan, are you equally optimistic?
Yeah.
I'm a little
Fuck yeah.
surprised. Well, I don't know. I have enough information to go on yet, but you know that humanoid robot that's been rolled out in homes. It's like faceless, but otherwise, you know, and it can fold laundry, put away the dishes. Even if it takes it like an hour, to fold laundry, you know, it can still do it.
Right.
But I was certain people would would not want that in their house. In East Asia, maybe, sure.
I'm still thinking they don't. I'm still on that.
People are gonna.
I think they do.
Be on board with it.
Yeah, I'm thinking they will eventually. I think it's gonna be a very slow roll, like a
I like AI stuff and I like high tech, but I don't like when it's embodied like that. I don't. It shouldn't be humanoid.
This has been one of my rants.
It's like in a factory somewhere where people have to look at it and it's purely functional for.
Yeah, this is one of my hot takes. I don't think that women are gonna want these things in their house. There's a lot of.
I bet Kat D would disagree, but she's probably going to say, "I bet they will." In the same way that they're more into AI companions than people expected.
Yeah, that is true. But like I'm actually going to drop on this channel pretty soon a video about that specifically is about women and how they are just like on every issue by the polling, they're like way down on technology, driverless cars all the way down. They're just like not into it. And like low key, like talk to any girl on the street and like ask her like, what do you think about the robots in your house? Like,
your own research.
They're going to be like,
you know, if a driverless car is one way that you don't have to deal with some,
no, that's why women are going to come around.
You'd rather not talk to you.
They're going to come around.
They wouldn't like that I said it.
It's just going to be a Steve Jobs character that like figures out how to make it like right now. Everybody's going like, oh, humanoid. It's probably actually like somebody's going to come out like the Pixar lamp, something that's totally non-threatening and just inconsolably adorable. And everybody is going to have one, like a Tamagotchi. Look at us. We're fucking animals, dude. Like if anybody wants to see what it looks like when a product spreads through the zeitgeist like a fucking wildfire, dude, like look no further than 1998. I mean, women were punching each other in the face for Elmo dolls, dude.
So this was that novel Clara and the Sun.
Beanie Babies.
You know that author Kazuo Ishiguro, he had this novel Clara and the Sun that was about a robot in the household, and it was like kind of believable at some level. I actually did not like this book. It was like it failed for me on a number of levels, but it was the daughter's tutor. It was this little, it's like super friendly, super lovable, cuddly robot that like was her tutor and like taught her stuff. While her mom was away at work, that sort of thing. I don't know. We're gonna like inch into this. That's
well, you know, like if it looks like a cuddly little teddy bear, people will go for that.
Oh, dude, yesterday it just can't look
like freaky and humanoid. In that movie,
yeah,
like that the product that the movie started with, that little farting funny creature.
Yeah,
that would have been a bigger hit than Megan.
Yeah, 100%.
Megan is creepy as hell, and everyone would feel that way.
I want to give my hot take.
The better she is at being a human-like companion, the more terrified people would be.
True. Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. Devin, I want to give my hot take to your question.
Yeah. Come on, hit me, Pete.
Okay, so your question was,
could you please just could you do me a favor and disagree, because we've been jerking each other off for 45 minutes.
I disagree about the robots. We disagree about the robots.
I'm fucking with you, man. Hit me. What do you got?
Okay, well, I think the most fascinating thing right now, it's not AI, it's not robots, it's not longevity. It's the fact that all of those together are converging.
Let's go.
It's so fucking fascinating to me right now that like we're right now this close on the verge to having artificial superintelligence. We're also at the same exact moment in history close to having like longevity escape velocity. And let's just say like I'm not saying like next year. I'm saying like within the next
decade. When you say
decade,
this close, does that represent like 50
a light year?
Let's say our lifetimes. Like
I need to know the context.
We're within decades. Let's just say decades for sure. The way everything is moving.
Longevity of a patch, I think, is more ambitious than achieving superintelligence. If only superintelligence, people can't quite agree on what it is. So plausibly,
longevity, escape
people
velocity,
150 or whatever. You know, that would be.
It's just the idea that not that like we're automatically going to start de-aging, but we're going to start like getting healthier at a certain level where a year passes and you only age 8 months.
Yeah.
And then you only age 7 months. It slows down the process so that ultimately you do eventually reach the point where like you reach a sort of stasis. But so, okay. So to finish my little rant here. So we have, let's just say we're creeping up on it not being science fiction for artificial super intelligence. We're creeping up on it not being science fiction to just like extend the human lifespan. Also like robots and just like massive job loss, and we're gonna have to rethink the economy. All of these things are converging at exactly the same time. And it's interesting that you have these like siloed conversations about, oh my God, what are we gonna do when AGI hits? Oh my God, what are we gonna do when like robots cause the job apocalypse? Oh my God, when everything is automated, what are we gonna fucking do? But like, there aren't that many people who talk about everything all at the same time in the same conversation.
Isn't the idea of it all coming together called the singularity or something?
The singularity does go by different definitions, but that typically is a moment when like technology just starts self-improving, when AI can teach itself to get smarter. And then like it reaches the point where like at one moment it's as smart as a human being on all levels. And then like 20 minutes later, because it's teaching itself now, it's 1,000 times smarter than ever human. And then it just keeps ramping up. And I think that's the technical singularity definition. But like, yeah, that will result in this, like everything's going to happen all at once. You know what I mean? Like, that's weird to me. That's weird. It's exciting.
I think things are going to kind of just muddle along for much longer than we think.
No, I think so too.
That's my worst fear. That is the pithy like 3-word.
It gives as much as it takes because like, okay, we don't get the cure for cancer we thought we were going to get, but also we don't get the job loss. It's like
no, I think you're right, but I think that if you were 200 years in the future and reading about this moment in history, you'd be like, whoa, shit, that was a cool time in history. You know what I mean? That's my take.
Yeah.
I think so too, man. I really do, Dane. I just pray to God that it is not what you're talking about, because this is kind of my personal opinion on this pod many times, is that they're gonna iPhone us with this fucking AI shit, man. And it's like it really should be already measuring the serum levels of vitamins in your blood and giving you real-time statistical readouts about things that are critical to the meat suit that you're fucking trapped in, or any number of higher order, situational problems that it could be solving. And I really, really honestly think that we're going to go through a decade of them taking all the low-hanging fruit. They're going to do the music. They're going to have AI Hollywood. They're going to have, there's going to be this huge economic water wheel on our attention. Meanwhile, it's like the financial system is bound up in our attention right now. I'm like, gosh, we really do need aliens to show themselves to us so that we can have like an alignment towards something that is not just recycling itself in all of these recursive systems are starting to reference each other, right? Financial systems, AI, informational systems, data systems, social systems, they're all becoming bound up in recursive. And it's like, we're too advanced for that. We really don't need that type of recursivity in the way that we're moving forward into the future. We have to have a set of values that guides what's going to happen, and it can't be just what the head of the biggest company thinks is right.
Yeah, I think it would be a bummer if the main effect of AI is to just increase the amount of time one can tolerate all by themselves.
Amen.
Like
something needs to make us be more.
You've heard the term.
Amen.
A technology needs to come along that
the end of boredom. It's really hard to be bored.
Yeah.
And like I talk about people being kind of withdrawing from relationships. I think that's a big part of it. There's so many ways to keep you entertained.
Like one thing that I'm
excited
simmering
about, insidious thing that keeps you away from social relationships, but it's not obvious that it does. You think it's really, I don't go out enough, which is true. But like if you just went out and then sat by yourself on your phone and entertained yourself, that's really not getting at the problem,
Okay, well, one thing that I'm excited about is I think that millennials are going to rethink how we do society in terms of cities, because I think that millennials are just more urban mindseted than boomers were, and even Gen X. So that like a city is a technology, right? And like we've been building antisocial cities with the suburbs for the last 50 years. I think that trend is going to start reversing. And like, if you look at a city as a technology, we're starting to just like make them more walkable and shit. All that shit that we talk about as like urbanists and yimbys and shit. And like, you become, I don't care how social you are, you become less social when you move to the burbs. And you just see this happening with people. Whereas like when I moved to San Francisco, and like my apartment was tiny and like it was not fun to spend time there, you end up going out. And like, Dain, that's when you and I met, because we met at a bar down the street from my apartment. You know what I mean? Because like, why wouldn't I go out? Like, I'm not sit in my apartment and stare at my phone, because like the city's right there. It's exciting. I hear it yelling at me all
but by moving to the suburbs, you offset that by being closer to like a smaller number of people. Typically it's your family, you know, that you move there to create or move there with. So you lose a number of like associates and acquaintances,
but you hopefully gain
a small number of people that are, you know, intimate on a day-to-day basis.
I think that you're right. I think
that can look like being less social if you're missing your friends from the suburbs. Like,
I think that you're totally right. I think that my comment could be you know investigated on a number of different levels, but like just in general, I think that the city as a piece of technology that we're always engineering, I think that millennials are minded such that they will engineer it to be cooler again, because cities have gotten less functional because
as
of the
long
boomers,
as honestly, man,
the boomers.
As long as we can do something about the gerontocracy and it doesn't just kind of keep sliding itself down 5 years, you know, we like the Mamdani effect, if there is one, has got to be young people getting motivated to change a city, because the higher order political establishment's pretty entrenched, but like local elections like that, I mean, you know, mayor of New York City, mayor of Chicago, mayor of, you know, these different cities, we can get some young, interesting people motivated to take these positions, man. I mean, we probably do stand a chance of having more common sense policies. I mean, dude, if he can get the state grocery store, if he can get a city run grocery
You're
store,
so in love with it.
Dude, just one. Because look at what look at where food prices are right now.
What did that do?
I heard an example.
Dude, you
I heard. Can I fight this for a second? Because we've been looking for a topic.
Fight it, but I'm gonna bat it down.
So do you know where we already have government-run grocery stores? Like a lot of them already.
Military bases.
Military bases, and they're insanely ineffective.
They're not built to be effective. They're built to feed troops cheap.
That's a certain context, you know.
Here's what happens.
The last holdouts of serious people in government are probably heavily concentrated there, and just there's a, you know, one reason. I mean, they can they have a lot of control over who gets to go into the store, and that's something that, you know, the socialists of New York City would never want to do. You know, police that. Quite the opposite, actually.
True.
So to the degree that a state-run store is shabby, much like or a state-owned units to live in, dwellings and stuff, I think you'll see the same kind of thing, and it won't be like a military base. Military base is cleaner and more orderly than a typical Whole Foods, probably.
Well, check this out. Right now in the kind of broader agricultural and grocery economy, there is no downward pressure on price. Every time there's a price hike, the only thing that's bringing that price down is public pressure, and public pressure is getting more splintered.
No,
right?
This is totally not true. This is totally not true.
What's the downward price? What's the downward incentive for eggs to go back down?
Okay, so
eggs become cheaper, because that's not what happens, because then the egg company does stock buybacks when the eggs get cheaper.
So do you remember during the pandemic when prices were rising and rising and rising? There was a certain point, economics is just real. It's one of the things in the universe that is just real, and you can't there's no political agenda that can go against it. Target started losing money because they kept raising their prices more and more and more. And then there was a big press release that Target was going to start cutting their prices because they were losing customers and losing money, and shit was rotting on the shelves. I noticed this even before seeing that article. I was like, holy shit, why did Target get so cheap again? Where you could buy a stick of butter for $2, and the week before it was $8. And I didn't buy butter that week. You know what I mean? The market is real. It doesn't matter what your ideology is.
Grocery stores of all things are so ridiculously competitive
They're so competitive. This is why Trader Joe's
margins
exists.
are really razor thin.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. No, that's exactly what I'm.
The 2 app stores that we.
I think you were saying the opposite of that, Devin.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that they're so competitive that if you introduce food at cost, it will drive the price of food down. Because there is no such thing as a mom and pop grocery store, and there's no such thing as a mom and pop food company. These are all corporate entities, man.
Well, some are relatively more than others, and they tend to be more expensive. They like a region, like there are regional chains, and then of course there's like Safeway, which I think is all around the country. Actually, I'm not even sure about that. There is no Trader Joe's is all around the country, but it's also a little bit bespoke, and it's not as many of them. So it's a spectrum of mom and pop.
There's a bit, but if you look at if you go walk through a Safeway, right, and you identify how many of those brands are owned by some umbrella corporation, and how many of those corporations are publicly traded, right? So the cost incentive for your food is tied to
a little in-house socialist, Dain. So you gotta.
I mean, no, but it's simple, because you also have this responsibility.
I know, but socialism doesn't work. It just doesn't. Like, name a socialist country that has grocery stores.
Hold on. We live in a hybrid socialist democracy. We have a fully socialized system. We live in a socialist democracy.
Not all, not fully.
Not fully, but I mean, in most of the key dynamics of things that actually matter to people, there's a fire department, there's a police department. We have socialized medicine for the most part here, even though it's heavily subsidized.
Well, yeah, I mean, unless you're an anarchist. And anyway, the things that fire departments are providing are not, they're not there to service demand for anything we call a consumer good.
It'd be immoral if they were there to make money.
It's not good to have more fire so you can have a fire department. It doesn't operate. That's not the same kind of.
Yeah, but you could have all of those industries be privatized like they are in other places too.
I don't think they should be privatized. I'm not like a free market anarchist.
That's what I'm saying. Is that there's only two. There's really only
that Gangs of New York scene with the competing fire departments. That shit was a mess.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I mean, there's a reason why a lot of aspects of the society we live in are socialized, because we live in a pluralistic society that has a responsibility to provide for people near the bottom, right? And that's the other thing that a grocery store that serves food at cost does, is it makes it to where people don't have to fucking walk to a shelter or a food bank if they need food to feed their family on basics.
Well, food banks that don't make a profit and rely on volunteers already exist within capitalism.
And people donate to them. I donate to food banks and shit like that. I have one more point to make, and then I think we do have to wrap up. I got some work to do still today, but
let's relitigate this another day. This is our first disagreement, and I want to
disagreeing.
I want to fight tooth and nail.
I want to make one more point, and I want to give you guys.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, yeah.
And then I want to give you guys the chance to rebut me. So one of the reasons why I'm against a lot of social programs, just in general, a lot of the ones I think that you like, Devin. Mm-hmm. So I agree. I like the system that we have that's like partly socialist. Get it? I'm into it.
I would say fire department is not a social program, but yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. But like, why I don't want to over socialize our country and go full European is because I like immigration. I want to have more immigration. And this is something that Milton Friedman and every economist ever talks about. You cannot have lots of immigration if everyone who immediately comes into your country automatically gets free everything, lots of food stamps and free healthcare, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That actually works if they're all young and over their lifespan, they pay back into the system. But if you get people who are coming in their late 40s, 60s, et cetera, they don't pay the system back and the systems fail. And also, this is why Europe is having so many troubles right now. And everything is going right wing in Europe is because they do just give people too much free stuff. And so they just like ghettoize in little communities, and they with their free healthcare and their free this and that, free housing, et cetera. And like all of a sudden, it's not a thriving society, and society starts to have cracks. So my trade-off, this is my deal with the devil, is like I do want lots of immigration. I think immigration is awesome, but like the trade-off there is you can't over socialize, or else you have to like stop doing immigration or else have political chaos. That'll be my final point.
Did you become a Groyper since our Nick Fuentes episode, Pete?
Groypers are anti-immigrant. Yeah, I'm the opposite of that. I'm the opposite of a Groyper. Actually.
No, just the collecting social services and ghettoizing. I feel like that's that feels very Fuentes coded to me.
Well, yeah, you could go different directions with that problem in Europe. You could say that's why we should have less less social democratic policy and more capitalism. But you could also say that's why we should have less immigration to preserve our socialism. And
true, yeah,
parties are mostly the latter over there. That's the kind of thing they say. I'm a free trade person and capitalism person, but I'm not as high on immigration as others. Because I think there's a quality to life on the ground that is affected that isn't really captured in GDP. And even though I don't think the criticisms that George Mason economists get for being like these bougie guys who live in nice suburban Northern Virginia and don't have to see immigration, I don't think they're doing it for selfish reasons. They're just sort of myopic. And I mean, so I'm pro-immigration, but there's nothing like the kind of no one is illegal, disorderly nature of what we've seen in the last.
We did have Brian Kaplan on this podcast who gave us the open borders talk. I'm fascinated by it. Well, I'm interested in it. Devin, last word.
I was just say to protect food banks and to protect the basic functions of government that I don't call social programs, but you were saying, Devin, with something like a socialism. To protect the integrity of those things, you don't want people overwhelming the resources like you saw in like border towns in Texas or in Chicago. So it does put stress. You have YMCAs that were available for low-income people nearby and some non-low income, and then now it's being used to house migrants and stuff. So it can be done too rapidly. It can create distrust. I mean, obviously, if you can't communicate in the same language, that would indicate a lack of needed trust. It is so basically obvious to me. And Robert Putnam and people like that have pointed that out. But again, from an economic perspective, GDP goes up. So trade and economic growth are good, but they're not everything. And I'm not even sure I'm conceiving it correctly that way. In that there is a trade-off between like economic growth and fabric of community, the way I'm conceiving it. But it looks to me like there is.
How weird is this conversation going to get when all the jobs are taken by robots and not immigrants anyway?
Yeah, see, I would be like less immigration, yes to high tech, robotics. You can get hyper growth that way, not just by having as many bodies from abroad grains.
So I got to run, but Devin, I want to give you the last word.
I'd like to see a version of society that's more culturally rich and dense and cohesive. And I think that's the thing that I end up kind of grasping for, because there isn't, we don't have a narrative around immigration as a country. We've got a bunch of siloed information streams around it. And you can kind of port that over into whatever idea you want to talk about, whether it's food or housing or blah, blah, blah. I'd like to see a country that, I probably is a hot take for somebody that's apparently as far left as I am, but,
I
know, yeah, somebody's got to be out here, but I'd like to see no immigration. I'd like to see only immigration that we're very, very clear on who's coming and where from and why. Like walking over the border seems insane to me. I don't blame a single person that does it. I mean, if you're next door, man, you might as well try. I would, but I'd like to see
how many of them are not next door. I don't know how many. I don't know what percentage of it's comprised by Ukrainian or Chinese people. Not many, I'm sure, or African. But
I know a lot.
They're not a lot.
I mean, it was like,
at this point. I think it's Central American primarily.
A lot from Asia and Central America. Yeah, not Mexico anymore. Mexico, they're too old and wealthy to come over anymore.
I'd love to see like a comprehensive immigration reform like we saw in God, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago? It was bipartisan and it got struck down by old bitch McConnell. And it was brutal. It was a great bill. It was like generational immigration reform. Would have been great for both sides. I'd love to see that. But at the same time, you know, the way that in my vision, we have to socialize the economy immediately, because we're going to have this insane job loss. We need a proof of concept.
Devin, we didn't even talk about UBI.
Dude, we need a proof of concept for UBI. We need a proof of concept for getting people fed their basic necessities at a price they can afford. But then hold on to
something hypothetical.
It has to be timed correctly.
Yeah, it can't, because we've seen history.
But then at the end of the day, maybe the most liberal thing that I think is that there should be heavy regulation around housing and food. And what we have right now is a market-based system, which is great for certain things like financialization and for money and for moving money around markets, but there really isn't a place for a corporatocracy around food or medicine or housing. Those things have to be stewarded by a collective understanding of the people, by a cultural precept that actually protects those things as rights that you have to continue living a free life in the pursuit of happiness, blah, 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 the Constitution, blah, 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 right? But you can't have that if there's a corporatocracy that has market narratives.
People are being housed. I'll let you go.
I mean, housing is being built in red states, not blue states. I think that cuts.
People are being housed and fed long before, you know, the original progressive movement came along and thought of these things as rights, and they're being housed and fed, you know, pretty well.
Yeah, and now your food is mostly poison.
You have like factory conditions and things like that.
Yeah, but now your food is full of oil and non-food. You got a lot of non-food in your food.
Hey guys,
and you got a housing market that's collapsing where
before we launch into food, I'm gonna have to. I got to bounce, guys. We'll do food and housing next time, because I actually love those topics. But Dain, thanks for coming on the pod. Devin, great as always. Guys, happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk soon.
Love hitting a good disagreement at the end. Bye, guys.
Yes.
A pleasure.